So back in September, I challenged myself to attempt to sew an entire capsule wardrobe of 15 pieces and wear only them for a month. I did it, but it went differently than I expected. I've been sewing since I was 9 years old, but I always struggled with normal clothes, as in clothes you could wear in public without drawing attention. Whether I tried an impractical, overly complicated design, failed to choose proper fabric, or just plain didn't do a good job with the construction or the fit, I was always very self-conscious about my own sewn pieces, and almost never wore them. The goal of this challenge was two-part. I wanted to really get some good practice in with making simple, classic basics, and I wanted to force myself to wear them out and to work through this fear. It's been several months since I completed this challenge, but that's kind of a good thing, because now I can also tell you what some of the long-term results have been. First, I'm going to go over the pieces I finished and offer a small self-critique of each one. Then I will talk about the overall experience and the results. Of the 15 pieces, I finished 11 in a 6-week time frame. Some of them were absolute unwearable garbage, and some of them were unexpectedly great, comfortable pieces that I have loved wearing ever since. The pieces I did not finish at all are the camel slacks, the ditzy print dress, the plaid shirt, and the button-up cardigan. Now, in order of awful to awesome, the absolute worst thing I made was the burgundy sweater. The problem started with the fabric. I bought it online, hoping to find something thick and warm for a fall sweater. The fabric I received was very thick, but unbelievably itchy, unbearable against skin. The second huge problem was the sewing method. I tried sewing separate cuffs like you would with a rib knit cuff on a sweatshirt, but unfortunately this is not rib knit and it did not function at all like I had hoped. The fabric was too thick and all of the seams are terribly bulky. I also found that the piece I sewed around the collar did not lay flat. I tried to fix this by inserting a piece of elastic, but that was a bad solution and made it even worse. The sweater would have turned out better if I had used better sewing methods, but overall I think it was a lost cause. I wanted a thick sweater, but there is no quick cheat for that. In the future, if I want warm knitwear, I'm going to have to learn how to knit, or buy a knitting machine. The next worst item is the navy blazer. I made it from cotton sateen from Joann's, with a polyester lining fabric inside. The construction of this actually turned out pretty nice. I did a lot of hand stitching around the edges, which might not have been technically correct, but I really liked the texture it added. The best part is that blazers are something I've never tried to make before because I've always found the collars to be very intimidating. But I was pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to actually sew. The problem with this blazer is all in the pattern and the fit. I made it directly from a quick sew pattern. I found the fit boxy and unflattering and very difficult to adjust. Because I've never sewn a blazer before, I followed the pattern exactly for sizing and fit, and found the resulting blazer too large. The best solution is really just to go try again. Find a better pattern and make a mock-up that I can alter. The next worst piece is unfortunately the eye print dress. Unfortunate because this is one I had really high hopes for, and because this is one I spent more money on fabric for, and it only came down to a few small problems that tanked the overall result. I purchased the fabric from Spoonflower in a design I digitized myself. I printed it to their poly satin, which I had never used before. The fabric printed beautifully, but it was some of the thinnest, slinkiest satin I have ever worked with. The difficulty in working with it definitely lowered the sewing quality, but only 2 small mistakes made it basically unwearable. One, I made the loops for the buttons just barely too small. It is still possible to button, but only just. And the other mistake is that the sleeves are too small and the sleeve cuffs are too tight. I could barely get the dress onto the mannequin, but it was far too uncomfortable for me to wear for any length of time. Sad, because it looks really good on the mannequin. The solution was again that I should have made a mock-up. Normally I would have, but I put myself on too tight a time limit and it cost me on some pieces. Next up is the chiffon miniskirt. This one I actually had no complaints about the construction. It was a simple skirt and the stitching is solid. I just realized once I finished it that it's not really my style. Too short and I don't like the wide yoke. I don't regret it because I wanted to try some new things with this project, and now I know. But it's not one that I'll be wearing or making again. Next is the linen tank. I have mixed feelings about this top. I used a thick 100% linen from Joann's, and it turned out much bulkier than I was planning. It's a bit hard to get on and looks a bit weird, but I actually liked wearing it. It was the lightest weight, most comfortable thing I had during that month, which turned out to be a very hot October, and I don't mind the way it looks tucked in. So, I don't know, the pattern's worth saving. Now we're coming to the clothes that have gotten to stay in my closet. Next is the mustard knit top. This one is a bit of a construction disaster, but it's comfortable and I've worn it anyways. The main problem is that I just seriously underestimated how much this knit would stretch out, and I didn't stabilize it enough. The neckline and sleeves have stretched out pretty badly. However, I like this shirt enough that I've already bought another chunk of the same fabric to make a second attempt. Next is the pair of blue jeans. As my first pair of jeans, these were quite difficult, especially the fly, and the stitching got slightly messy at times. However, they turned out way better than I expected, and I'll definitely try making jeans again. Again, my only real problem is my fabric choice. I hate the wimpy, thin jeans you get at fast fashion mall stores, and I wanted to try making jeans out of a thick, durable denim. So I chose an 11-ounce, 100% cotton with absolutely no stretch. They are wearable, but too tight to be comfortable. I did some research, and I think for my next pair I'll try a similar denim I found online, slightly lighter weight, and about 95% cotton and 5% elastic. The pin-tuck blouse is very nearly perfect. It fits well, but I made up the sleeve pattern, and they're way too full, and about 3 inches too short, so I can really only wear it with the sleeves rolled up. But I like the shirt well enough that I may go back and make new sleeves for this one. One thing that's great about making your own clothes is that I can put the buttons way closer together than they do for shirts you buy at the store, meaning no cleavage gap. The black fitted tee I made based off of the best fitting t-shirt I own. However, my t-shirt is very long on me, so I made the pattern shorter, and the resulting t-shirt is only slightly longer than a crop top. Oh well, the fit is good, and I fixed the pattern and used it as a base for several shirts since then. The tweed midi skirt is my second favorite. This is the first skirt I've owned in years, and I really enjoyed wearing it over the winter. The construction is good, though in the future I will probably make skirts sit at the waist, instead of lower on the hips like I tried for this one. I ended up hiking it up and gathering it at the waist with a belt anyways. The fabric choice wasn't awesome. It was a cheap wool blend, somewhat loose of a weave. That meant that it started to pill pretty badly after only a few wears. And finally, my favorite item, the checked jumper dress. This dress is fantastic, fits beautifully, and gets tons of compliments every time I wear it. I have only a few mild qualms about the construction, but none are even worth spelling out here. I wore this dress all winter and can't wait for cooler weather so I can wear it again. The fabric was a very high-quality vintage Pendleton wool that I found on Etsy, and in hindsight, the quality of the fabric made a huge difference in the end result. However, it's also worth noting that this is the first item I made out of the whole project, and it is the only one where I made a mock-up and really took my time, mostly out of reverence to the beautiful wool, which I couldn't bear to cut into until I was certain of my pattern. All of this, obviously, affected the end result. So was it worth it? Amazingly, yes, but not at all in the way I expected it to be. I did not end up with some perfect little capsule wardrobe from which I can expand into a completely hand-sewn closet. There are only a few pieces from the whole project that I really love and wear a lot 6 months later. However, it was instrumental in breaking down my perfectionism bubble with my sewing. I used to decide on a project, buy fabric for it, spend weeks on it, going back and redoing every tiny thing I wasn't happy with, only finishing half the projects I started. Then, when I finally did finish something, it invariably ended up different than I had expected. I was embarrassed to wear it, and I would walk away more discouraged than ever. What was the point of all of that money and work if I could have just gone out and bought something? This capsule project helped me break through this. Working on such a tight timeline, I had to finish projects and keep moving on, even if things weren't perfect. Forcing myself to wear the items helped me break through the self-consciousness that usually prevents me from wearing my projects. Because the truth is, there just aren't that many people in public who will notice. And it really helped me to understand that I am both better and worse at sewing than I realized. I am perfectly capable of making clothing that holds up and is wearable and hardly even draws attention. However, I am also far less practiced than I knew. I do tons of research, read patterns for fun, sketch out designs, and figure out exactly how I would make them and how each piece would fit together. But that is not the same as actually sewing and putting the knowledge and techniques into practice. And as it turns out, there is a whole realm of techniques that I still have to learn. But as I learn and grow my skills, yes, I believe it is possible to make and wear my own clothing, and it is a goal that I can pursue. I would not do a challenge exactly like this again. Overall, though it was good to do once, I feel like now that I have broken past those barriers, I would be better served by focusing on slowing down and making one piece at a time to add to my collection. I am currently engaged in a new challenge, and that is during the whole year of 2019, I am not buying any articles of clothing. Anything I need or want, I must figure out how to make myself. During this coming October, I plan to do another challenge, wearing only clothing I've made myself. But I will not limit it to clothing I made during any specific time frame. Instead, I will include all clothing I've made myself, and will wear only those pieces for the month of October. In preparation, I have been slowly working on new pieces all year, which I will need to fill out this wardrobe. At the end of the year, I will probably stop and reflect on this, and possibly amend the rules for 2020. I went into 2019 knowing that I had most of the basic essentials, and that I would mostly be making things I wanted rather than needed. However, by 2020, I will probably be needing some fresh swimwear, underclothing, socks, and knitwear. I believe all of these are possible to learn how to make myself, and perhaps I will persist with the challenge for a second year. This way, instead of trying to transition into a home-sewn wardrobe overnight by making items as fast as possible with cheap fabric, I can slowly replace purchased items as they wear out with my own version, learning as I go, taking my time, and investing in quality, natural fiber fabrics. I think that is, in a way, a noble goal, and a sustainable goal, the ultimate escape from fast fashion. However, I've realized that, at least in my life, the option to just go to the mall and buy what I need is too easy, and the only way I can ever hope to master the craft of sewing is to remove the easy option from myself. Just stop buying clothes, like that. I don't know how well it will work, but I guess it's a journey. And if you'd like to follow along, I'm excited to get back to posting more regular videos about my progress.